this is the Modern Inquirer Part 4, and my name's Dianexo. We're talking about student life right now.
My name is Atia.
My name is Lucy.
My name is Arianis.
And like Dianexo said, we're the Modern Inquirer working on our YouTube channel, part of our assignment. We're going to be talking about student life from the perspective of Classical High School, but we decided to take another way of looking at it. Instead of just looking at what's going on in school right now, we decided to look at past versus present. So we're looking at Maricha Lyons, who's the first black graduate from Classical High School, which at the time was Providence High School. So Classical High School has been established since 1843, and slavery was abolished in 1865. Clearly, there's a time period in which Classical was established and slavery was still going on, and even after slavery was abolished, there was still a lot of discrimination. So most people, when they think of Classical High School's past, they know that it was an all-male school, but they don't also recognize that was an all-white school. So Maricha Lyons was the first person to break that.
So Maricha was born in 1848 in New York City when slavery was not yet abolished. In fact, her parents actively participated in the Underground Railroad and used the colored sailors' home as a stop for people traveling through. The New York City draft riots broke out in Manhattan, causing them to seek safety elsewhere, and so they relocated to Providence in 1864, and she was just 16. An eager learner, Maricha was looking forward to furthering her education, only to come to the realization that not only were schools segregated, there were no high schools for black kids that existed.
She fought for her spot at Providence High, which was Classical High School, and because they denied her entry due to her race, so she testified before the Rhode Island State Legislature, urging them to allow black kids to enter the school. Her efforts did pay off. As expected, her start was less than ideal. She was a cast-out. Other students were reluctant to interact with her and even sat away from her. As time went on, however, she was excited as a student, both socially and academically. And in 1869, she graduated as the first black high school student to ever do so in the whole of Providence.
The school also chose her and 4 other graduates to each write an essay at graduation. She titled hers, which furnishes the better subjects for art, methodology, or Christianity. After high school, she went on to become a teacher for the Colored School No. 1 in Brooklyn, New York. She passed away at 1929 in the age of 80. At the age of 80. I'm sorry, I can't read. And she left behind an incomplete memoir, Memories of Yesterdays, all of which I saw and part of which I was.
Which is really cool to read that.
Did she trademark that title?
So going back to present, after looking at the past, Classical is one of the most racially and ethnically diverse schools in New England, not just Rhode Island alone. There are stats for that, but I'm not going to read them. But we're a majority African American and Hispanic, followed by white and Asian Pacific. Mm-hmm. In other words, Maricha R. Lyons fought for her right as a black student to get her education in Providence, and she opened the doors for many of us, including us as seniors, to follow that path and getting her education here at Classical High School.
So we're going to be discussing the article itself. So what was the purpose? Who was the audience? Whether it was successful in doing what it intended, if there were any more effective ways to go about it, if is something missing, and does something need to be changed or removed, and how would we, as our own little journalist, company, how would we report it, and any suggestions we had for the author. So, what do you guys think? What was the purpose of this article?
I think it was really informative. It was just shedding light on the fact that not everything was the way we see it now in Classical, and how before it was very discriminative and limited, and she was the first one to actually go against all of that, and we're here now, all different types of people.
So. Yeah, especially how like I said, Classical is the most racially and ethnically diverse. When you go around, you see all types of people with so many different backgrounds. It was not limited. And the fact that someone had to break that for us to get to where we are right now is really amazing to look at.
I think that the purpose of the article, well, it is written by classical alumni, just to know that she is a classical alumni. She's not, to us, she should be like a person we look up to because she went to our school and she did all of these things.
And it's surprising that, I feel like most students don't know about her.
Yeah, it is
And
surprising.
we, like, in history class, we're not that would be kind of pretentious to talk about, like, history of classical. But yeah, something to bring up in general that, this is where the school kind of came from, and this is why we're all here. And that's part of our, history, and it's important.
It was monumental for her to go to this high school.
And she changed it.
She changed everything.
So, talking more about the article or the blog post, do you think it did what it was supposed to? Is it missing something? Does something need to be changed?
I mean, it was pretty successful, but the article itself was a little vague on information about her and about the experiences she went through. So, I guess if we could.
Yeah, like, on one hand, maybe they didn't have enough information, but at the same time, like, maybe the way they phrased some of, like, the things that she went up against, like, oh, eventually she got over it.
Yeah.
Like, that's not exactly, I don't think.
It was very idealistic. It was very up and down, and I think that, it wasn't in, like, it was, like you said, it was really static. Like, there was, like, a beginning and end, like, high school, especially, like, she was an adolescent, like, that, her experience had to be, like, just, like, changing, ever changing, so, it wasn't necessarily went from bad to good, or, like, whatever they said it was. I think it was painted a little idealistically. It must have been really hard to find friends who were accepting, and even accepting what was accepting back then. Like, what did that mean? There was also a lot of, like, praise towards, like, the abolitionists in the article. I don't know if you guys saw. I feel like they talked a little more about them. Like, all that, what they talked about, like, about them, they could have, that was just...
Use that to focus
Yeah.
on her herself
Those
rather than just her story.
Yeah, those sentences were, like, unnecessary because, honestly, Maricha, she wrote her own story. Like, that's who she was. That's literally her whole history, is that she wrote her own story. She created her own destiny. Like, she decided she wanted to come to this school, and she came to this school. No one else had a part in that. So I think that she should have been the main focus. Like, I much have rather read a sentence about what she did here, instead of reading about some abolitionist friend she had.
That's true.
Something that, like, to take into consideration is that it is a blog post and not a news article or, like, a research analysis type thing. The author did do some research and left, like, links of, like, sources of, like, stuff in, like, accounts in New York, because she originally was from New York, and, like, accounts from here of stuff that had happened. But, like, as a blog post, it didn't go as in-depth as a news article would have been, or a research article would have been on this topic. So I feel like as a blog post, it kind of did what it was supposed to. I mean, of course, it is missing, like, the in-depthness and, like, more focusing on Maricha rather than her story. But it's not as serious if it was a news article. And if it claimed itself to be a news article, then there's something missing.
Yeah.
There's something very much missing. But as a blog post, I feel like it did what it was supposed to do. And if there was, like, a part 2 to it or something, it'd be really interesting to know more about exactly what happened here for her on her account, if there's any something like that. So, any last words?
Definitely left you wanting more.
Yeah.
I hope more people find out about this, because, like, I had to, like, look to find this article.
How hard was it?
I searched, like, student life and, like, the purple post, because classical high school post, and then I also looked for just classical high school related articles, and then I came upon the page, but it was, like, further down. Like, I had to scroll down. They didn't have that many blog posts to begin with, but, like, it was something, I think it was, like, 2 or 3 years ago that it was published, so they had more recent things, but I didn't see anything else really about it. But it's interesting that it's from a classical high school alumni blog that this girl is being talked about.
All right. Thank you.
Thank Thank you for watching.